following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin. Hey, hi, I'm Christine, your host.
And I'm Gabby.
And we are on 50 Shades of Bullshit.
Bullshit.
I like saying bullshit.
Bullshit.
Bullshit is what it all is. Mm-hmm. I hear my mom's voice every time I say bullshit because I think that was her word. It was damn it and bullshit. So, hey, Gabby, how's it going? You feeling under the weather too?
Well, I wasn't feeling so great today, hence why you get the morning after look.
I've had a cold all week, and I don't know if it was heavy allergies that kind of turned into a cold or if it's just a cold, but I'm kind of sinusy and coughy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I hate that weather change in California. You get sunshine or you get sunshine, don't you?
Yeah, well, it was really cold earlier in the weekend, and then throughout the weekend and on Monday, it was hot as Hades. It was so hot.
What's cold to you guys? Like 60 degrees?
It was cloudy and rainy.
Ew. All right. Never mind. Okay.
It was early spring.
Well, it snowed over the weekend.
For 2 days. So. Well, today we're talking about kind of like older generation dating, a 40 plus dating, and, for me, it's like each generation has been a different dating experience. I was married for a long time. And in between, dating, I was married. And then when I came back from, being in my 40s and dating, it was like, what is all of this? And what is this online dating bullshit? And why am I going through so much drama? But 40s was a real struggle. And then, being in my 50s now and dating, it's all about finding myself. It's all about being happy with me, being okay, being alone, and things like that. What about you, Gab?
Yeah, I actually completely agree with that. I mean, 20s, it's fun. I mean, it's not too serious. You're not really like focusing on your life partner. I feel like in your 20s, in your 30s, I'm in my late 30s. So like as my 30s have progressed, you're really you're really talking about those like serious conversations really early on in online dating. Do you want kids? Have you never been married? Do you have kids? Especially out in Wisconsin, they all got married really young. And so a lot of them have kids. So there's that thing, that avenue to talk about. Then it's kind of weird, being in your late 30s, some people are taking medication. So like they bring their pill box on a first date just in case they have a sleepover. So they're popping pills the next morning.
I had a guy bring his sleep apnea.
I had the CPAP machine. A guy brought a CPAP machine. And I'm like, okay, well.
No mystery there. That was fun.
So you have sleep. Yeah. So you have sleep apnea. You snore like a elephant. And I mean, this guy had a micro dick. So I mean, it was like goodbye.
Fun times. It was a combination of success, I see.
Yeah, I slept on the couch in my own.
I remember that story very well.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about this show is we talk to a lot of dating coaches, and we talk to matchmakers, and we talk to people who have created dating websites, and we talk a lot about where to find somebody and where to go to date. And we actually have someone for the show today who created something really cool that was an avenue of singles to find each other.
I'm really
And
excited about this.
me too, because every single time we have someone on here, we say, "Oh, give us some suggestions, tell us some things," and they always go, "Oh yeah," and then they never do. So
Well,
here we go.
I've personally hit up a couple of our guests, and you know,
Yes.
as I know you have as well. I mean, I hope that our listeners are really
Yes.
utilizing our guests, because I mean, their work has been, I mean,
Awesome.
definitely beneficial for me personally. And they
Mhm.
know their stuff, you know? So like,
I
you know,
love
when
it.
I heard about this next guest, it really piqued my interest. It's something new and different, and I'm really, really excited to hear more.
Me too. So Daniel's pretty cool, and he's, easy on the eyes, so that's not harmful at all. So let me tell you about Daniel Harold. He's a divorced dad of 3 daughters. He lives in Oklahoma. He's a co-founder of a group called Divorced Over 40, DO40. I like that. It was a group for divorced men and women across the world who are aged 40 plus. And in this community, it provides support and content on its social media channels, and it hosts events with a specific intention of fostering and cultivating friendships with the possibility of maybe making a connection. So this community has enabled Daniel to really pursue his passion in writing, and he writes several topics, including his own personal divorce journey and dating over 40 and being a dad of 3 daughters. And it's led him to create this really cool club called Intentional Dating Club. And really, this dating club that he's provided is helped us so much with finding guests for our show, because I've met some incredible people and we've brought them to our people who watch us. I can't talk today. Anyway, so Daniel has helped create this group that provides techniques and tips on how to create safer and more positive dating experiences. Now, our guest, we have a special guest coming on in a couple of weeks, that is, I believe, the advocacy for against romance scams. And Daniel has become a part of their board of directors. So it's the Advocacy Against Romance Scams, and it's a nonprofit organization, advocacy group. I can't say that word. To provide awareness to romance scamming and identity theft. He also serves as an advisory capacity in a number of emerging dating apps. So we're bringing a lot of those apps to our listeners already, and we have a bunch more coming.
That's
But
awesome.
today is Daniel Harold. Let's bring in Daniel and say hi, hi, hi.
Hey,
Daniel.
Hi.
how are you guys? Hi, Gabby. Hi, Christine.
Hi, thanks for being here today.
It's always a pleasure. It's nice to finally connect. We've talked so much, Christine, over the past 30, 60 days. It's nice to put this together.
It is. And thank you for being so great about joining us and taking the time to be part of this. And, Daniel, I owe you a lot. I really love the group of professionals that I'm part of because of you. So I found Daniel on TikTok.
Oh, is that where we connected?
Yeah. I saw your TikTok post and you had the funniest TikToks ever. And I was like, this dude is freaking cool. So I started following you, and then I sent you a message, and you were like, hey, find me on Instagram and let's talk. So you made me part of the group. And this group has really provided us with an array of amazing guests. And it has really helped our listeners with finding who they are, where they're going, what they want with dating, who they are with themselves. And it's just been an incredible journey.
Now, Daniel, I'm really curious how you even got into this.
Oh my gosh. Well, that itself, Gabby, is a long story that probably requires drinks. But let me give you the Cliff Notes version. I found myself in a divorce after a 26-year relationship, 22 years married, 4 years dating. And I, just like everybody, dove into dating, not knowing what to do. And I kind of figured out how to navigate it in a healthy way. And then this divorce community started up. And then, what do divorced men and women talk about? The dating and how frustrated they are. And I was like, well, this might be a space that I can kind of share my experiences in. So it's kind of been fun. And speaking of the group, Christine, you know, when I decided to dive in like last October into dating, I've only been in it like less than 6 months. I was like, okay, let me get the lay. I'm the type of guy that's like, let's get the lay of the land. Like, who's out there that is in the space that provides content? And the one thing that I noticed among the dating coaches and the matchmakers and the dating podcasts and the content creators is none of them talk together. The collaboration amongst all these smart and bright people was real minimal. And I was like, well, why don't that could be my mission, is let me bring all these people together so that they know who they are, each other are, and they can start working together. And so we started working on that, and we've got several hundred now in that community that we're building. And it's just a lot of fun getting to know a lot of new people.
It's amazing. Not only have I made some really incredible friends, but you know, we're all collaborating on Clubhouse, and I was part of Clubhouse like a year ago, but I never went on it because it was boring. I didn't really find any groups I liked. And then with the people that are in our group, we have some really great clubhouses, and I'm part of that. I'm on those boards. I'm also, since all of this, I've been on a couple of different podcasts as a woman in business, as a woman who pivoted in her later years, who started a new career. And it's really like taken off a whole bunch of other avenues for me. And it's amazing. I appreciate it.
Well, we all have our stories, right? And so it's fun to be able to, I mean, you serve your audience by bringing good guests on here and bantering about life, you know, after in your 40s and 50s. And it's nice for people to hear your story on a different platform. And then you expose yourself to a whole different new audience. So that's kind of the goal. I'm a big believer that a high tide rises all ships. And there's plenty of people that need help in the dating space. So anybody that thinks I'm going to climb up the ladder and then pull the ladder up because I don't want anybody else to follow me, I think is short-sighted when it comes to serving this audience.
Yeah. And I love it. You know, Daniel, I had Lori Mendelson on the show. And before we had Lori on the show, I was having a conversation with her that just went on for hours, and we just really connected. And I connected her with Gabby, and it's been really amazing. The great thing about all of that is that Lori and I were talking, and it sparked a show for me. And sorry, I forgot to mute my phone. And it sparked a show for me that now you are going to be part of. Lori's being a part of. Annie's been on our show several times. Annie's going to be part of the show. And it's a dating reality show. And I think you also know Jackie out of Austin, Texas, the matchmaker.
Yeah,
she has now, because she's going to be part of the show, helping me with the casting for all these matchmaking people. She is connected with matchmakers all over the U.S. and is now creating this whole new group. It's just phenomenal how all of this coming together, it can be so good.
We'll see if the men take my advice on there. I think the women will take the advice, but I'm not sure about the guys.
Now, Daniel, what, like, you know, creating this, you know, dating over 40, like, how has this group, like, you know, affected you? Like, I mean, this was a wonderful idea. I'm surprised, you know, you would think it's like kind of like, you know,
no brainer.
I think of that.
You know, like, I kind of pivoted I was building this divorce community, and we were so intentional that this is a platonic, friendship-driven community, no dating. And like even the events, we were like, if you're coming to try to get a phone number, don't come. But everybody wanted to talk about like the elephant in the room, which was dating, but we wanted to create a safe place. And so that's where I kind of pivoted into, well, this is a need. There's not a lot of people that provide. I don't want to be a coach, but I feel like I've got good advice and I can tell my story and be an advocate on behalf of the dater. And so that's where I decided, well, why don't I dive into this space? I can bring all the experts together. I got a club specifically for daters, And then I'm just networking with everybody that I can so that I can ultimately be I kind of think of myself as an advocate. I'm the bridge between the service providers and the actual daters. And I help translate the mixed messages that everybody's getting.
No, your group is, so I'm newly getting familiar with Clubhouse because of Christine and our show here. So is it that you created a group within Clubhouse? I mean, and how do people get involved with this?
I created a members only club. This is different from the experts.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I saw as a need in the space was there's no community in dating in general. There's no community.
No.
And frankly, when I dated, I didn't want to talk to my mom about dating or my brothers. And I definitely didn't want to talk to my best friends because they never had good advice for me, or they always just wanted to hear the shit show of stories, right? You know that.
You needed us in your life. That's what happened. Because Christine and I have some really fucked up stories.
Right.
Each other right after the dates.
That's what friends wanted to hear about. They're like, I remember going to a dinner once, and one of my friends brought a couple that had met on a dating app, and then they were married. And we sat down, and this guy, he puts everything aside on the table and goes, all right, I want to hear your dating stories. And I mean, that's life of dating with friends that are couples. And so it's like, there needs to be a community where people can feel safe and talk about their dating frustrations, their dating successes. And so that's where I created a club, which is basically it's a members only subscription-based club. And people come in and they have a private Facebook group where they can communicate. And then I bring experts in, like all the people that I'm connecting with, that Christine's connecting with. I bring them in and we do Zoom calls for the club and educate them on how to be a better dater.
Now, for our listeners, we don't know the number of how many we have, but I mean, there might be people really interested in this.
Tell us about it.
Oh, well done. Jenny just says it's an amazing club, made a huge difference in my life. That's awesome.
Jenny.
So for some of our listeners, like, I mean, is there like not a survey, but like a, thing they have to fill out?
Yeah, basically the best way is to jump over on my Instagram and they can DM me. So I always tell people to DM me the word coach, even though I'm not a coach.
So
and then
Daniel, make sure in our chat here, put in your Instagram handle.
Okay.
And Jason's going to put it up on the screen for our listeners. Now, tell us what this club is called.
It's called
Dating Over 40?
No, it's called the Intentional Dating Club because the audience that I speak to, there's two different kinds of daters. There's the casual daters.
Yep.
And I was a casual dater for a long time until my girlfriend now, knocked me off my heels. And in the casual dater bucket, there's just the hookup people, but there's also people that are trying to figure it out. And that's okay. I think both are okay, as long as you're open and direct and honest with who you are. So I kind of see that there's two different types of casual daters, but the intentional daters are like, okay, I know what I want. I can articulate what I want. I'm looking for an exclusive monogamous relationship.
Yes.
And the thing about an intentional dater and a casual dater are like oil and vinegar. They do not mix very well, if at all.
No, we don't.
But people disguise themselves as an intentional dater, or the intentional dater is willing to give a casual dater a chance.
True.
And it always backfires.
It doesn't work.
I'm about trying to equip people to figure out if someone's truly intentional or not. What are the questions that you ask? Number one. And then number two is there alignment? Is this someone that kind of fits what I'm looking for?
What Melanie, are some common things that you, sorry, go ahead and say.
I was going to say, Melanie May actually is from my hometown and she's in Colorado now and she's listening in. I'm so happy to have you, Melanie. Go ahead, Gabby. What were you going to ask?
I'm just curious, have you noticed with this group, like a common thread amongst your group members, like the common problem, the common frustration? I mean, granted, I feel like I've been dating my whole life, but now I have a boyfriend, thank God, from Bumble, who flipping knew.
See, it works.
You're welcome. I told you to go on Bumble.
It kissed a lot of frogs. I mean, our listeners know some of my stories. You'll have to watch some of our previous shows. I've got some good freaking ones. Okay. But like, I'm really curious. I mean, because your group is so special, and not specialized, but it's so like concise, that what are some of the highlights, like the main things you hear from your group members?
Well, I think what the biggest problem is that people are in a long-term relationship, like a marriage, or perhaps they're widowed, and they dive into dating, and dating is like a marathon. And you can't just go sign up for a marathon and run the next weekend and expect to finish. You're just going to get, after about 2 miles, you're going to crash and burn. You have to prepare yourself as to how dating is handled in today's world. It's completely different from what it was before. And part of that training is learning how to discern people. That's a skill set that a lot of people have to acquire. How to read people. What are their true intentions? And you do that by, in a casual conversational way, asking the right questions. And I think what happens is we're too lenient. We give too many chances to people, and we aren't seeing the flags that pop up early. We discount him because he's too charming. He's too handsome. She's too hot. And you avoid all of the things that maybe your intuition is saying, whoa, we got a problem here. Did you hear what he just said or she just said? And you're like, no. She's hot. I got to go out with her. I got to give her another chance.
Yeah. On Clubhouse yesterday, we did one about casual dating or red flags and stuff like that. And a woman spoke up and said, you know, this guy that I just started seeing said something about he has real strong, real bad trust issues. And I said, what are you even talking to him still? Say, good luck. Go get help. Maybe if I'm single in 6 months or a year when you've mastered that problem. I said, because otherwise you're going to continue to be constantly, what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to prove that you're trustworthy.
Well, you can't fix him. You can't fix him. No. And I don't need to relinquish my phone and make him search through all my DMs and my texts, 2 weeks into the dating process. I mean, how is that healthy? No. You're right. And part of the problem with a lot of divorce, particularly in the divorce community, is there are so many people that are emotionally unhealed from the trauma, which was the divorce.
True story.
And because they're so lonely and they're yearning for connection, and they may be sex starved, that they jump into the dating apps as a means to fix that. And so we that are healthy are dating a bunch of unhealthy, toxic people. And that's where we get all the ghosters, the bad behaviors, the dick pics. I mean, all that stuff manifests from unhealthy people.
Gabby and I are going to create a coffee table book of all the unsolicited cock shots that we've gotten.
Because no joke, she gets one, she sends it to me and being like, and I do it back. I'm like,
how many have you gotten, would you say?
In my
thousands?
In what? Like the last year? In the last 5 years?
Thousands.
Seriously.
I've gotten thousands. Probably about 1,000.
And I've gotten videos.
Oh yeah. I had one guy send me a video of him and another man jerking each other off on the couch, and him underneath saying, how hot does this make you? I hadn't even met him yet.
No, we get a lot of it. And we could do a whole podcast on that. So Daniel, tell us about that. I'm sorry, I have these bad flashes of all those bad pictures in my head.
But I just send them a dick pic back from like Amazon, or not Amazon, but like I'll Google it.
Your list?
Google image, and I'll send one like 3 times bigger and like perfect and send it back. And they're like, what the fuck? Well, you send it to me, so why would I want it?
Here's mine. Jason's like, how do you find dick pics on Amazon? Well, if you go on Amazon, I'm sure you'll find something if you put in dick pic. So Daniel, tell us about the barbecues that you do. Tell us about that, because I think that's so cool that it should be starting up in other places like Denver and Los Angeles and all over the place.
Well, I'm not now that I'm in a relationship, I'm not as active with my circle of friends. I still have a good balance there, and I'm still investing in my friends. But when I was single and I'd kind of gone through my run of dating, both unhealthy and healthy, and COVID hit and early 2020, and I couldn't travel, and I dated when I traveled. I didn't like to date in Tulsa because it's such a small town, and it always seemed to get back to my kids, and it hurt them every time. And so I was like, I'll just date when I travel for work, and that stopped. And I was sitting there reflecting on my life, and I was like, I don't have any friends. I've been using this dating angle just to kind of fill my cup and for validation, and I haven't invested in any friends. I lost all my friends from my divorce, and I realized that I needed to focus on that. And so I started hanging out with this guy who was just going through his divorce. He was a lot more social than me. He had a circle of friends, and we came up with this idea over the summer of COVID, which in Oklahoma, it was like Florida. I mean, people just do their own thing, you know. We were like, let's have cookouts and let's just invite people over and let's just hang. Because a lot of people had a lot of spare time during that period of time. And so we had our first cookout, and it wasn't like a dating mixer. I mean, everybody that was invited was divorced. And I met all these cool people, and then we had it again. It was like potluck. Everybody brought a side dish. We barbecued. Everybody bring your drinks. I was like the DJ. And it just built up. And my circle of friends went from like one to like slowly building over time. And that's when the divorced over 40 notion kind of created. It was like, we could really create an organization to help people who are divorced, who lose their friends, make friends. It so happened, and I'm a big believer that if you get tired of the dating apps, start investing in your friends, because you'll encounter other people just hanging out with your friends that you don't know, and one of them could turn out romantically. And it so happened that we were having a cookout. I probably just had a tequila shot. I was playing the music, and this beautiful woman showed up, or she was there. And I look over and I'm like, whoa, who's this? And we started this conversation. Neither one of us was there to try to find someone to hook up with or a girlfriend. And 18 months later, we just moved in together.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
It's it's what everybody wants, right? I want to meet someone organically.
Yeah.
And so my answer is invest in your friendships and you'll meet someone organically.
I love that.
All my friends are married except for Gabby.
And so I get that a lot. And so what I say is go find some single friends, you know?
Yeah.
And Divorce Over 40 could be a community where you could find those single friends, make new friends, and then start hanging out with them. We see a lot of small pockets, you know, because you're not friends with 50 people. You find people that you're aligned with, and then you start hanging out with them. And that's what's happening within our community.
Yeah. Well, you know, like Kathy, our listener, just made a comment about how the isolation over the past couple of years has really added to the issues. And she's correct. You know, it's really hard. And, you know, Gabby knows what it's like to date in Los Angeles, though Los Angeles essentially is it's hard to explain. It's so spread out geographically
Right.
that
the dating world is small. I mean, I'm also Jewish, so even the Jewish world, I mean, it's even smaller. I mean, like my girlfriends and I, when we would go to events, like we would literally huddle and talk about, oh, I dated him. Oh, you went on a date with him? You met him from J-Date? I met him from J-Swipe. Like it's the smallest, it's, you know, it's the smallest world.
Trust me, I have some stories. I dated in LA. And I have
you did.
I remember I was going one weekend. I used to plan in advance. I was on Hinge. I'd set my location in LA. I was like, and I'd start connecting with people. And I was like, I'm there for work. I just like meeting people. I was really honest and open with what I was looking for. And I connected with someone. She's somewhat of a known figure. I won't mention her name. And I asked her out on a date. She said yes. And then the next night I asked another woman out. What I didn't realize is they were best friends. And so
yeah, Daniel.
About a week later, I got a text from the first that said, hey, I just realized that you're good friends with my best friend, Rachel. Why don't we all three just go out together? And that was the end of that.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Right.
I don't want to be the player no more.
But to your point,
I just crush a lot.
Yeah, that crash and burn for me. I mean, I realized that it is a small pool of people, and single people hang out and they talk about who they're dating. They show pictures. Did you see this guy? And so I realized that strategy didn't work.
Oh no. But I mean, you also made your intentions clear. So like on that front, that's good. You know, I live in Milwaukee now, so it's different. It's different. So like, yeah.
It's weird. It's different.
I mean, Christine, luckily, I mean, and also our listeners hear about some of my stories, but like, dating and people are obviously, like you said, like are in different places in past, even whether or not they were not married, but traumas of past relationships, things carry over.
Right.
You know, like, does the discussion of kids, is that like a normal thing in your group? Like, I'm assuming, or maybe because I've been in Milwaukee too long, like just divorcees, people in my age, they have kids.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer that if you're intentional, you want to state your intentions and you want to figure out their intentions and you want to make sure that you're aligned from a stage of life standpoint. And having kids, or if you have kids, how old they are, you need to determine if there's alignment there. And, you know, as an empty nester, my kids are off to college. I don't want to date someone that doesn't have kids and wants kids, like every 40 and 50-year-old man tends to do. In LA, the Peter Pans, right?
Oh, yes.
I don't want to date women that have 5-year-old because they've got 10 more years of raising kids. That's great. But I'm at a stage of life where I want to travel. I have more flexibility. So you have to ask this.
Yes.
I'm so, one of my big platforms is you got to protect your time. Don't figure that out on the second date. Ask it before you even go out on the first date, because you don't want to go into that date and you're like, oh, you have a 3-year-old. Oh, you just wasted 2 hours of your time unless you wanted to make a friend. So it's all about asking those important questions, not in an interrogation way, but in a conversational way where you can figure out if there's alignment.
Now, is your, like, the dating over 40 now, it sounds like, excuse me, it sounds like it's getting, like, you know, and it might get even more popular with our listeners. Are you going to like possibly divide it into like north, south, east, west, coastal, or is it just going to be one giant melting pot?
Well, the divorce community has grown in like 50 different cities.
Oh,
so it's pretty much everywhere. The dating community is one virtual community. I mean, we have someone from Greece, from Kenya, Mexico. I mean, it's just one virtual community. But what's interesting, that's a good point, Gabby, is we've got about 150 members now in the dating club, the Intentional Dating Club. And what I've noticed is that friendships are forming, which is kind of what I wanted. And now some people there's several women in Dallas that went out together as friends. And so I'm starting to see that there might be some actual live events from the dating club, but the divorce club is, you know, thriving in multiple cities and people are doing things all the time.
That's cool. I want to make a comment really quick. One of our listeners, Bradley, has made a couple comments, and I'd love to address that, because what he's saying is that he says in his comment, "I'm only interested in one person. I'm not interested in having different dates every weekend." And I'm not sure if he's saying he's single and he's only interested in finding one person. And I'm going to take it at that. I'm going to pretend that that's what he meant, because I want to say something about that. Intentional dating doesn't mean that you're not going to find different people and different things about yourself that create different ways of dating. I too only want to date one person, but I have to find that right person by dating different people to see who is that person. I am never going to find my one person, a needle in a haystack, if I don't start digging through the haystack. So keep in mind, Bradley, that even though some of us are really intentionally dating to be with one person, that you have to figure out who you want, what you want, and figure out how you're going to find that. And I have a suggestion, and you tell me, Daniel and Gabby, what your thoughts are on this. There's something called Meetup. It's a Meetup groups. I think it's called meetup.com. And if you can't find the right group that you want to be part of, maybe you can create your own, like Daniel did with the barbecues. But I used to go, before COVID, I used to go and do volleyball, co-ed volleyball. and I used to go on singles hiking groups. And it's Gabby saying no because she doesn't like the activities. I'm an activities
like
girl.
I hear volleyball and I think emergency room. I hear hiking and I think I'm going to be the chick on the news where the helicopter, because I went left instead of right. Like I'm going to need like that rescue mission. And I just want to shout out Carrie Wide Awake, Sussex, Wisconsin, my homie.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that you have to decide what things are important to you, what kind of activities or ways of doing something that you want to do, and does those things, are they important enough to have in another partner? And then start going and doing groups like that. Maybe create your own singles hiking group on Meetup. Or Gabby, stop it. Do a knitting group. I don't give a shit. Do something.
I'll do underwater basket weaving before I ever go hiking.
But you bring up a good point, because the most common complaint I get in dating is, I'm so tired of the dating apps. Why can't I meet someone organically? And my response is, well, get off the dating apps and go meet someone organically.
Yes.
Well, I don't know how to do that. Okay, you do. There's lots of ways to do it. One is obviously investing in your friendships, but the second one is find something that you're passionate about and go do it. And I guarantee in Milwaukee or LA or Tulsa, there's hiking clubs, there's running clubs, there's cooking classes, there's dancing classes, there's reading book clubs, there's wine tasting clubs. There's all sorts of activities that you can get involved in based on what you're interested in, and go in there with a mindset that, number one, I just want to enjoy myself, and number two, I'm going to meet new people.
You had me at alcohol. I heard wine tasting.
Yeah. I want to talk about that. Because Daniel, what you're saying is not necessarily will you find, say you're a woman and you go into a cooking class or a wine club. You may not necessarily meet a man at that group, but you may meet another woman who's got a brother-in-law who's single, or a friends who are single, or just developing those friendships and start putting yourself out there to be open to meeting people organically through other people.
And I will say this though, the one thing that I've seen as a challenge, like, I don't know if it's just maybe my generation or something, but I have personally been to a bar, because it's Wisconsin and that's what we do. But I have personally saw a cute guy across the bar, bought him a drink, to give an opening. I see you. You're cute. He did not know what to do. He panicked. He got his check and left. He did not know what. I mean, it's
he probably was married, Gabby.
Huh?
Probably.
I checked. There was no ring. There was no ring. I did my homework. I did the passerby.
Well, I think a lot of guys are very intimidated to make the first move. And even in some cases where you make the first good move and you basically drop the handkerchief, here's your drink, and you're waving across the table, and it still intimidates men. Yeah. And frankly, I would need that type of cue at a bar myself, because I'm not just the type of person where I can establish eye contact and say, I'm going to walk right over to someone. I need the cue. There's different spectrums of men and how they respond. And frankly, for a man not to respond to that you served up, that's not your man, right? No. You want someone to be
you a favor.
Right. I'm going over there and I'm going to start talking to her. So yeah. And I do think, but back to your point, I mean, you got to put yourself out there. Yeah. And I think what happens is it's so easy to get on this thing, build a profile in 5 minutes, and you have all these choices. And there's a study called the paradox of choice that basically proved that the more choices and options you have, the worse of an experience you're going to get. But all of us think, because I can just get back on the phone and swipe, that there's going to be someone that's better looking, more aligned, in what way? And so we always deviate back and we give up on people too quickly.
True story.
True story. Carrie is funny. Carrie's one of our listeners today, and she's been making some really hysterical comments. But she's saying that she would prefer to meet someone organically other than online, because online feels like a job interview. And I just want to say that we get out of things what we put into things. Keep in mind, people of all ages, of all sex range, it doesn't matter who and what you are. Keep in mind that if you feel it's going to be something Yeah, we know, Carrie. I've had a few hits on my dating apps in Wisconsin, and they've been interesting. But the thing is that we want to keep in mind that what we put into it is what we're going to get out of it. And if we go in feeling, oh, dreadful, and this is going to be a bad thing, just remember, go in with a smile, go in and have fun. You're just there to meet people. Maybe just don't even think you're going to meet the love of your life. You never know. You could come out of it with the love of your life, like Daniel did at his party.
Like I hated that expression when they're like, "Oh, the moment when you stop looking for it, it'll happen." I hated that expression.
And a lot of people believe that, and I'm like, defense is not a good strategy. Defense is not a winning strategy to go find a relationship. You got to play offense, and playing offense doesn't mean that I'm going to walk up to every stranger that I see and start talking to them. It means that you have to put yourself out there. And why not put yourself out there in situations, things that you enjoy, and people that you like?
Yeah,
that's easy. If I like hiking, I'd love to be a part of a hiking club, and I could go do that. And I'm filling my cup, and then I build friendships. Gabby, if I like wine, I would love to go to a wine tasting event.
Yay!
And I go and I enjoy the experience, and I'm going to meet some cool people that love wine tasting too.
Yep, I agree. So Bradley had a question for us, and maybe Daniel, you can.
Yeah, I think this is a total Daniel answer. Go ahead.
He says, if I see a woman that catches my attention and she turns her head like she's avoiding me, does that mean that she's not interested?
Well, I would tell you that the shy Daniel would probably have not made the advance. Maybe today, the way I've grown, I probably would. But what do you have to lose?
Exactly.
Go over and say hello, Brad, is what I would do. And if she says, if you get the cues that she's not interested, then that's okay. You still have your, someone's going to respond to that. Someone's going to appreciate, like Gabby is going to appreciate a man coming over and asking if, can I buy you a drink instead of, can I take you hiking? Right. So yeah, I say go for it. You have nothing to lose.
Dating's like working out. It's building muscles, and it's building your muscle of.
I work my Kegels all the time. Just kidding. I know. I'm a bad person, Daniel.
Oh my God.
Hence why I'm single. Just kidding.
I need to be on this show more often. This is great.
This is us all the time.
This is us all the time.
Except you're getting the morning after look. Like this is when you like slept over and the guy's like, "Who are you? I don't remember bringing you home."
Cynthia is so sweet. She's saying in response to what we're talking about is that she was shy. And that's what I was going to say to Bradley is maybe she was shy. And sometimes women don't know how, especially if they're freshly divorced or they are
baggage or trauma from their previous
lost their husband or lost their wife or whatever. They may be shy. They don't know what to do. She's saying that she learned a lot from the group that Daniel created. And I would highly recommend going and checking out Daniel's group and seeing if maybe it's the right fit for you, seeing if maybe there's something you can't learn, because we have a lot of dating coaches on this show. If you can get a dating coach or a program that can help guide you through finding who you are, learning what your wants and needs are, the difference between a want and a need are really helpful in dating, in finding your person.
And that changes. I feel like that changes, right?
It does change.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
I don't know about you, but I like buffets. So I like getting a little bit of everything. So there's so many dating coaches that each provide a little nugget. So I'm not going to go with one. I'm going to get them from all of the people.
Yeah.
So, and you provide that, and you can get on Instagram or social media, and there's tens upon tens of great dating coaches that provide good advice. Some provide really bad advice, but there's some that provide gold. So go pick it from everybody. The more you're knowledgeable, the more knowledge you develop in how to date, you start to feel empowered. Mm-hmm. And when you own dating, you got it.
Yeah.
Because then you don't put up with the bullshit. You protect your time, you protect your emotional health, and all you have are good experiences. Mm-hmm. You got to get that empowerment. You got to own dating.
And once you know your worth, other people will recognize it as well. Yeah. I guess.
Exactly.
And I mean, it takes time though.
Yeah,
It
it's the
does take
going
time.
back. It's the going back and learning about the truth of learning to love yourself before you can love someone else. It's knowing your truth. It's
And
knowing
I'm
your
happy
worth.
to say, like, I've hired some of the people that we've had on our show.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, there's great people.
great
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
I've brought them on. I've worked with them because I mean, I would have never had encountered you, Daniel. I would have never encountered Annie Parker. I did like a session with her. And then Chantel is another one like that I'm going to be working with.
Lori.
She's phenomenal. Lori Mendelson, another, just
Yeah, she helps you.
phenomenal people.
Yeah, Lori helps you, create the perfect, what is it? Breakdown of your, God bless America, your dating site. So when you're on your dating
She put me on
profile.
blast, yo. But Daniel, quick question for Bradley. Just had one about your group.
Is it okay to meet others in Daniel's club, even though they live in another city? Yeah. I mean, I'm not a huge, the question begs, does long distance work?
Sometimes.
There's proven cases that it works.
Mhm.
All it does is add an element of friction in a relationship. It's whether or not you can manage that friction or not. But it does work, but it's hard.
I think what I could say to Bradley is that maybe he can join your group and he can find somebody in his area from your group.
That's my vision. My vision is that
Yeah,
I create a club to educate you, but because everybody in that bucket are all intentional daters, that they start going, wait a minute, look at these people around here. And it might create some romantic connections.
I love that. So once again, give us how they can find your dating thing that we're talking about.
They message you, right, on Instagram?
Yes. So it's the Intentional Dating Club. The use is, and thank you to your producer, just follow me on Instagram, DM me. I'd like our information about the club or just the word coach.
Yes.
And I will send you to a landing page that tells you all about it.
That's awesome.
Well, the TV show that I was talking about that I was developing, that I was talking to Lori and it popped into my head. I want to talk about that today because we're casting for it. Daniel is going to be our male coach. Well, coach, professional. I don't want to say coach, Daniel.
I'll coach him.
Coach away. My dad
I'll coach the hell out of him.
He's a coach.
Yeah. So Daniel's going to be part of the show, and we're casting right now. And what I'm asking is any woman or man who is in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, who are all across the country. We are searching for singles who can relocate for love. And that's the show. It's called Relocate for Love. And we are looking for people who can go across the U.S. with us and meet singles and form this bond. And maybe the man relocates to the woman, maybe the woman relocates to the man, maybe they feel like saying, fuck it, let's retire and go live in Arizona. So, let's do that. So how to do that, if you don't know how to make up to a 3-minute video on your phone, go on YouTube and Google, I just lost it. I'm so sorry. Survivor audition tapes. And you want to tell us who you are, what's your name, where you're located, what your age is, and why you're perfect for the show, and what you do that you could relocate. Maybe you work from home. Maybe you're retired. Maybe you, who knows? But what I want you to do is do a video and email it to me. And you're going to email it to our 50 shades of bullshit at gmail.com. Now, remember, when you email us, it's 50 spelled out, shades of bullshit, but Gmail will not let you put shit in the email. So you have to spell it SHYT. So FIFTY SHADSOFBULLSHYT at gmail.com. Send those to us and we're going to be casting. So Daniel, thank you for being here today. This was a fun show.
You guys are so fun. I need to come back. You guys have to have me back.
You have
Please.
We'll talk about funny dating stories, which everybody wants to hear. How about that?
Yeah. And I want to talk about your TikTok too. If anybody wants to follow Daniel on TikTok, it's the best. What's your TikTok?
It's the same as my Instagram. How genius is that? At Daniel.Harold.
He's
I just did a lip sync from Will Ferrell. It's kind of raunchy, but you got to go watch it. It's hilarious.
I've sent a few of yours to Gabby. We send those back and forth. So I just want to say thanks, Gabby. Thanks, Daniel. Hold tight. We'll talk after the show off air. In the meantime, please come back and see us next week. Same time, same place. We're going to show you some really fun stuff next week, too. And until then, keep it real.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.